The Late Showgram podcast with Jim Richards is on the iHeartRadio app. It's The Late Showgram with Jim Richards on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
And we are back with the Showgram. I'm David Cooper, filling in for Jim Richards. He'll be back tomorrow night. My guest tonight is a friend. He's a very interesting guy. He is the co-creator of Django, which is a framework for building websites, a rather popular one amongst nerds. He's the former director of architecture at a ticketing company called Eventbrite, where we both worked. And he's the creator of Niche Museums, a website where you can discover and explore tiny little bizarre museums. But that's not my reason for bringing him on the air today. First of all, Simon, you've got a very impressive resume. I was always very excited to work with you. I would show off to people, hey, I work with the co-creator of this programming tool. And I don't mean to butter you up for the interview. I never told you that. And I always really admired you and liked working with you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
His full name, which I didn't say earlier, is, of course, Simon Willison. Now I can ask you whatever uncomfortable question I want because I've sufficiently buttered you up. All right, so the reason I bring you on, I mean, to be blunt, you've got an artificial or fake eye. I want to be careful with my language.
I'm a cyclops.
You're
I'm a cyclops.
All right.
I have one working eye. My other eye is, it's a weird little sort of ball in my head with an artificial eye on top. So I have a fake eye, which is basically a thin plastic layer that I can pop into the eye socket.
And you were born with sight in both of your eyes. You were in a car accident, which we won't go over too much. But in that car accident, you lost an eye, and that was probably 5-6 years ago. I remember you took
5 years
time.
Ago, yeah. I came out of that. I came out of that incident as Cyclops.
And I remember you took time off work, rightfully so, to recover and stuff. And then you came back and you were wearing a patch for a time. And then somewhere along the line, you got an artificial eye. And that's not really where the story ends. That's where the story begins.
Yeah, so this is the thing about artificial eyes is that they are made to order, right? You can't just pop in any old eye. It's got to match your other eye. So there is a class of professional called an ocularist, and ocularists are eye makers. They are people who make eyes, and they are a very rare breed of people. I think the USA has about 200 of them covering the entire country. And of course, why would you even think about this until the point where suddenly you need a new eye and you've got to find somebody to make you one?
So there's an artistry to it. It's not just an artificial limb where it's more just functional. You're copying the other eye, doing it in the style of the other eye. Exactly.
And this is the thing I love about it is it's a medical science, it's craft, it's like artisanship, it's all of these different specialities bundled together. And so the people who do it are very interesting people.
Okay, so to me, like, you're a very curious guy. So once this process started, you started to get to know that, well, okay, let's stop. What exactly happened with your eye? You go into a shop, you go into an office, you meet with someone?
So in my case, it was the doctor who'd been looking after my injured eye was the person who said, hey, you're going to need an ocularist. And then my wife, Natalie, started doing the research and put together an Airtable database of ocularists who operate in the San Francisco Bay Area. She gathered incredibly detailed notes about all of the options. I think there were 6 or 7 contenders because even though they're spread quite widely across the country, they also they travel a lot, it turns out. Like one of the guys that we talked to operates in Reno and Honolulu and Bakersfield and San Luis Obispo and San Francisco. And he has rented space in all of those cities and cycles through them over a sort of 2-month basis.
Wow.
The number of patients they have, it's pretty small, right? Not that many people need new eyes. And once you've got one, you only need a replacement every 5 to 10 years. So they really do have to spread out to make sure that they're getting a decent amount of business.
I feel like that's a great thing to put on your resume, traveling ocularist. So you got a short list. What are some of the things that you use to actually choose someone?
I mean, I went to see quite a lot of them because why would you miss out on an opportunity to meet somebody who makes eyes, right?
Yeah, I agree.
A sudden highlight of this whole horrible experience. And so you'd talk to them, and actually, initially, I thought I was going to have an obviously fake eye. So given that, I thought, okay, well, I want something creative. I want an eye for special occasions. You know, I want something that's got like the solar system in it or like gold tweaks or so I can pop in a different eye depending on what I'm doing. And in the end, I didn't do that at all because it turns out these things are so realistic. you kind of forget that you've even got one. But initially, I was talking to these people and saying, okay, so if I wanted something a little bit different, is that something you could do? And some of them were like horrified, and some of them would sort of play along. So those ones I scored a little bit higher. But really, the thing that convinced me then was they showed me the eyes that they'd made. And although you then realize that, no, they don't, right? Because so this guy brings out a box of eyes. Those are not anybody else's eyes.
Those are the rejects.
Right, those are the rejects. The ones they show you are the ones that weren't any good. And yeah, the guy ended up picking his reject box was just astonishingly high quality work.
And do they make, you were mentioning things about threads and all kinds of material. Like, what are some of the materials that go into these things?
Right, so I can only speak for the guy who made my eye.
Sure.
But the way he does it is he takes a mold, he injects this sort of weird dental molding stuff into your eye socket. He uses that to make a plastic sort of resin shape, and then he hand paints it. And the real trick with this guy is, for the hardest bit is the veins. And the way he does red veins is he's got a pair of tweezers and some red silk thread, and he sort of pulls apart the thread and puts these very delicate red lines into the eye, like he melts them into the plastic. So the end result is, honestly, I've since worked with people who worked with me for 6 months and didn't even know I had a fake eye. They thought I had a slightly lazy eye because it doesn't move as well as the other one.
Sure, yeah. Now, do you get one for when you get really high on marijuana? You get a red tinted one and pop that one in and out?
No. It's funny you should say that. He told me one of his customers was a TV news anchor, and they needed two eyes because when you're in the studio with the lights on you, your irises expand. Wow. So they had to have an eye for when they're under the lights and an eye for the rest of the time.
Wow, I like that my obnoxious question has like kind of a real and interesting answer to it. All right, so you go in, he puts the mold in, and then he just takes sort of a picture of your other eye and runs with it?
This is the problem, right? Is pictures won't work because you can't guarantee that the colors on a photograph are exactly the same as the colors in real life. So yeah, he'd do an initial version based on a photo, but then you had to go in for the second day where you're there with your real eye and the fake eye, and he's adjusting it to fit. So yeah, you have to be there in person for part of the process, because otherwise how's he going to make the colors match?
So you're sitting with this guy. Are you talking, or is he a relatively quiet guy?
He was he was concentrating quite hard, but also to his credit, he was very game for answering all of my crackpot questions. And actually, by the end of it, he said, you know what? If you like, I'll show you into my laboratory. And he takes me into the room where he makes the eyes, and he had like eye molds and all of this stuff. And he also had this filing cabinet full of genuine glass eyes, right? My eye's plastic because the glass ones, if you drop them, they shatter, which is quite bad.
So if someone decks you in the face, like if you're very good at blocking punches with your face, you're going to have shattered glass in your face?
Exactly, right?
Wow.
Glass eyes are not, so most eyes these days aren't glass anymore, except in Germany. And I believe it's for union reasons, but there's a whole...
There's an eye union?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Because these glass eyes. So he showed me these glass eyes, which were his father and his grandfather. Because all of these ocularists are related to each other.
Wow.
We can talk about the moment. It very much runs in the family.
I love that there's a union in Germany. I mean, I'm a socialist. I vote left in Canada. There's an election coming. I vote for this party, NDP. But at the same time, that's union's gone too far. That's bringing out the conservative in me.
But the thing about the glass eyes, though, is they're glass all the way through. So the iris, the colors, the pupil, that's all glass. Like the technique that you need.
It's blown.
It's actually glass blow something with a realistic looking eye in it. That is art, right? That is an extraordinary thing that they do.
Wow. Okay. So where were we in the story? So you're sitting there. He shows you your laboratory afterward. What were some of the things that you asked him that you were astounded by the answers to?
Well, they are. I mean, the thing I've just really loved the fact that it's a craft that runs in the family. My guy is 5th generation, and his son, who was older than me, was working in his office, like apprenticing to be the next eye maker.
Yeah.
And I think the reason it runs in the family, there's a couple of things. Firstly, there are no schools for this, right? There is no ocularis school. So you've got to apprentice for it. It's the only way to do it. And I have a hunch that the most precious thing that these people have is it's their reputation and it's their book of previous customers. Because apparently I'm going to need a new eye about once every 10 years. I was maybe once every 5 to 10 years. And so if you've got a decent book of sort of 30 or 40 people who are coming back to you, that can probably prop up your business pretty well during the quiet periods where nobody's losing their eyes. I wonder how well ocularists have done during the pandemic when there's been presumably less accidents and things.
Yeah, I wonder. And now, did your ocularist have any celebrities in his book?
So he wouldn't tell me any names, but he did tell me stories. Like he told me the story about the. Let's see. He had the TV news anchor. That was a good one.
Sure.
He's done a police dog.
He'd done a dog?
He'd done a dog because police dogs get injured in the line of duty, and they're cared about a lot.
Yeah.
So police dogs, I can't remember if it was him, but one of them had done a police horse that had been injured and they'd got a new artificial eye for the horse. And there was also a story where somebody who had got a fake eye was later, they committed a crime, and in running from the crime scene, their eye fell out.
Oh my God.
The eye was found and was used to identify them by going around the various ocularists and figuring out who that eye had been made for. And I can't remember if that was my guy or someone else, but there's definitely been criminal eye analysis that has gone on with these things.
Wow, that's amazing. I had a criminal pathologist on the show a few weeks ago talking about analyzing dead bodies, but I love the idea of analyzing eyes on the ground. All right, we got about 30 seconds here that I need to kill. Should I have asked another question? Maybe. So I will. Simon, can I ask how much these things cost, or is that a private...
I can't actually, off the top of my head, it was in the thousands, but not tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and for the amount of work and specialized work, that doesn't seem too bad. Does health insurance in the U.S. cover it?
I don't think mine did, actually. Oh, don't get me started on U.S. health insurance. Yeah, I've definitely had the brunt of that.
No, I'm from Canada, where it's OHIP in my province. You got the NHS in the UK, where you're originally from. All right, we're going to be back with Simon Willison, who is a well-known engineer, has created a website for finding niche museums, and is generally an interesting guy with one eye. I made it rhyme, but why? I'm David Cooper. This is The Showgram.
You're listening to The Late Showgram with Jim Richards on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
And we're back with the Showgram. I'm David Cooper, filling in for Jim Richards, who sadly sustained serious injuries while replacing his toilet. I kid. He is on vacation. He'll be back next week. My conversation continues with Simon Willison, who is a well-known engineer, the co-creator of a framework for building websites. He was the director of architecture at a ticketing company called Eventbrite, where we both worked. And he's the creator of Niche Museums, a website where you can find and discover tiny, weird museums. Simon, thanks for continuing to be here with me.
No problem at all. So nichemuseums.com is a hobby that I picked up a few years ago when I realized that every single town in America and probably in the world they all have museums, but they always have one weird little museum, something about hammers or I don't know, plates or Bigfoot. And once you start looking for these things, they're all over the place and they are guaranteed to be a really good time. Because if you go to, say, the Burlingame Museum of Pez Memorabilia, you're going to meet the guy who founded the Burlingame Museum of
Yeah,
Pez
I mean, I imagine these things are very difficult to staff, so it's really just the curator and maybe one other person.
It's just the curator most of the time. So you get to spend half an hour with somebody who's collected every Pez dispenser made since, 1960 or something, and they will show you around. You
know, my cousin, who's a filmmaker in Los Angeles, who's a Canadian, he made a film. I'm just going to plug it because he's such a nice guy and he's been on the show. His recent Netflix series is called How to Become a Tyrant, but he made a movie about the Iceland Penis Museum. There is a penis museum with every mammalian species, like bones and things in formaldehyde, and that's in Reykjavik in Iceland. The movie's called The Final Member. So these kinds of museums exist everywhere. That's perhaps a more famous one, but...
I think that I haven't been yet, but the thing I've heard about the Penis Museum, it's that classic thing where the guy found a penis on the beach, like a whale penis or something, and thought it was interesting, took it home, and now he's got a reputation and people are like, hey, I found a penis, you should have this. And so some of these museums happen because, somebody expressed a minor amount of interest and the word got out and they were flooded with penises to put in their museum.
And I'm struck by what you said about how you're going to end up being there with the curator. This movie ends up being more about this weirdo and this museum and his quest to find a human specimen, which is actually quite difficult to get for non-medical purposes. I like that you say that's one of the more interesting aspects. What are some of these museums that you've actually been to?
So I've got over 100 that are listed on the website now. And because it's such an easy hobby, outside of pandemics, you go to a town, you search Google Maps for museum, that's it. You found one to go to. So some of my favorites, there is the Burlingame Museum of Pez Memorabilia, sadly shut down a couple of years ago. This is an important lesson. If you see one of these places, you should go straight away because they are not long for this earth, right? These things, they do not have the staying power of the Field Museum in Chicago or something. So always go if you get the opportunity. There's a museum just in the woods outside of Santa Cruz. There is a log cabin called the Bigfoot Discovery Museum. And if you go there, there is a man who will show you his evidence for Bigfoot. And he has a lot.
Is it compelling? Are you convinced?
I mean, the way to handle this, you have to suspend your disbelief, go in and just absorb it all up, right? Like it's like immersive theater or something. I mean, he had plaster casts and shaky videos, and he had a map on the wall with pins of where they've been sighted and the whole works. And while I was there, he accepted a phone call from somebody and spent 5 minutes convincing them that Bigfoot was real over the telephone.
While you're just standing there talking to him? He has a side conversation that's also about Bigfoot. I love that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that place is extraordinary. So the best museums are the ones that are appointment only and are in somebody's home.
Okay.
Right? If you can find one of those, you should absolutely do whatever it takes to get and see that. There was one in not Vancouver, Canada, it was Vancouver, Washington, the city just north of Portland. And it's called Devilish Little Things. It is a collection of devils that a lady has been collecting for 20 years, like devil statues and knickknacks and so forth. It's in her house. Her house is a converted church. So you can book to go and see her. You get brought into her home that is a converted church, and it is completely crammed with devils and Krampuses and all.
Is she religious or?
Well, she's German, and at one point while she was showing us around, she says, people ask me if this is a Satanism thing. This is not Satanism. These are European devils. They sit on your shoulder and they tell you to drink.
Tell me about did you end up going to that Bone Palace in San Francisco?
Oh, this was extraordinary. So my wife, Natalie, and I had a sort of competition to see who could book the most exclusive and interesting, like weird experience like this. And she won, right? There is nothing I can do in the rest of my life that will beat what she set up. Because there was this chap in San Francisco called Ray Bandar who spent his entire life collecting animal skulls. He had over 7,000 animal skulls, and he put most of them in the basement of his house in San Francisco. And he died a couple of years ago, leaving this basement full of skulls. And his family, he worked with the California Academy of Sciences. His family were going to donate the entire collection to the museum. Natalie managed to befriend his great nephew and convince him to give us a tour of the basement the week before it all went to the museum. So this was like the last chance to see this basement in San Francisco with 7,000 animal skulls in. And honestly, it's the most incredible place I've ever been in my entire life, right? Wow. You're in this basement. There are like skulls literally everywhere, meticulously labeled with little handwritten labels. He had a hippopotamus and an elephant. He had a box of beaver skulls. He had pretty much anything you can imagine. And we got to spend like an hour just exploring this absolutely amazing collection of skulls.
And you've touched upon what you said earlier about the ephemeral natures of these places. Like if you find a place like this on the map or on the internet, go today because tomorrow it could be gone.
Exactly. Yeah, there are so many that I hear about, but it's too late to go. I think San Francisco's in the Castro in San Francisco, there was a museum about what was her name? Barbara Streisand. There was a Barbara Streisand unofficial museum in a guy's apartment in the Castro, which got into various legal connuptions and things and eventually shut down. But that is exactly the kind of thing you need to see them before they cease to exist.
Have you ever met one of these curators who just made you really uncomfortable because they were such a nutter, I guess is the kind way to say it?
I mean, the one thing I will say is in America, there are quite a lot of sort of antique shop kind of like history museums, and they get a little bit Nazi.
Oh boy, just a little.
It's like, yeah, you're like that's a lot of Nazi like memorabilia that the Second World War stuff that you've collected. It all seems to be from the one side. So occasionally you'll run into places like that which feel a little bit uncomfortable.
And when you're there, do you just kind of nope out of there, which is a kind way of saying I slowly walk out, or will you still get involved?
Yeah, you politely sort of nod and smile and then reverse out.
All right. Any other examples? We just got a couple moments here left.
So there's a really fun one in Fairfield, California. The Jelly Belly factory,
cool.
Like the Jelly Bean factory, has an extensive collection of Ronald Reagan memorabilia.
Wait. Oh yeah, because Ronald Reagan loved Jelly Bellies. I've actually heard this fact.
Right? And so they have portraits. They have several full-blown portraits of Ronald Reagan constructed entirely from jelly beans. And this is, because Ronald Reagan was a big fan of Jelly Belly. He had Jelly Bellies in the White House, like on his desk and stuff. And it massively increased their marketing and visibility. So that as a company, they have a deep, deep passion for Ronald Reagan, which they exhibit through their collection of Reagan memorabilia and portraits.
Cool. Well, where can people find this website where they can find these museums?
So my website is www.niche-museums.com. But that's just the ones that I've been to. So if you want to do this, the thing to do is hit up Google Maps, search for museums, and then just keep on zooming in and trying to find anything that looks unconventional or niche in any way. And honestly, the key thing here is the topic does not matter. It doesn't matter if you're not interested in Pez dispensers. You get to meet somebody who is interested in Pez dispensers.
Cool.
So you go for the people and their passion. It doesn't matter if you care about the thing the museum's about yourself.
So if you like meeting weirdos, this is the thing to do. Simon, thanks for being here. Simon can be found on Twitter under Simon W. I got to say, Simon, it was a great pleasure to catch up with you. A great pleasure to work with you over those years, and it's nice to see you.
Yeah, it's been great to see you too.
What a great interview. You know, you like what you hear. You can download the Showgram as a podcast wherever podcasts are found. Apple, Spotify, who cares? It's up there. Just type in the Showgram and you'll be able to listen to this whenever you want. All right, we're going to break. I'm David Cooper. This is the Showgram.
It's the Late Showgram with Jim Richards on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
All right. I'm David Cooper filling in for old Jimbo. He'll be back next week. He fell off of a tricycle. He stole a tricycle from a small child in cold blood, and then he fell off and bruised his elbow. I kid, he's on vacation. He'll be back next week. We are going to continue the Brit train. You know, the guy we just talked to was from the UK. We've got a caller on the line who's from the UK. He is a friend. I'm really excited to have him on the air. He is a comedy partner. I collaborated with him doing radio for many years. He was unwell for a time, but he's feeling better. And so I'm so glad to have him on the air. And he did want me to play this before we put him through. So I'm going to do it because I'm a nice guy. Without further ado, Her Majesty, the Queen. Tony from England. Should we call you Black Tony or British Tony, not to be confused with producer Tony?
That's the one, David. Good morning, David. Good morning, Canadians. Good morning, Canada.
Yeah, Canada. That is the official name of the country. I'm so glad to have you on the show, Tony. It's such a great... Last time you called in, it was with Jim, and who cares about Jim? I don't even know who Jim is anyway. I just hear his name at the beginning of the hour.
Right?
What's that?
Something to do with a show, yeah?
Something with a show and a gram. I have no idea who he is. He sounds like a nice guy, though. How everything going? Is the sun risen? What's it like over there in the UK?
It's 7:30 in the morning. I've got a dog licking my toe. And, the sun is out. It's bright. It's lovely, David. Lovely, lovely, lovely.
I'm going to do it a British-Canadian translation. 7:30 for all you people out there is 7:30, all right? Mm-hmm. I know I'm a smart guy. What can I say?
You are very smart, David. Yeah, you did say that before. You don't understand the 1/2 past, the 1/4 past, and the 1/4 right?
Yeah, we do that. We do 1/2 past, but we don't say half and then blank. So we say 7:30, but we don't say 7:30.
Ah, okay. Yeah, we like to cut out a lot of words because we invented the language.
Yeah, you did. And you'll let us know every opportunity
100%,
you can get, okay?
100%.
Canadians speak Canadian, Americans speak idiot, and British people speak English. All right, we got it.
100%.
We got it. No, I live in America. It's a beautiful country, I assume. I haven't seen much of it.
You're trying not to get kicked out, aren't you?
I am doing my best. I am a permanent resident. I need to be indicted over a felony or a serious offense. I don't think they can kick me out on a misdemeanor now. So I could,
kill someone or do something naughty to someone, right?
Yeah, naughty stuff. So what's on your mind? Earlier in the show, we were talking about your least favorite significant other. Do you want to start there or something else on your mind, my friend?
Wow, how long do we have, David? I mean, we can go through a number of my exes. I don't know where you want to start. I mean, I used to...
Yeah, that's our segment. It's
Tinder, Bumble, and Match. I've completed all of them, by the way. So I'm doing really well.
You've won Tinder. You got to the end. What is at the end? A pot of gold? I don't know.
It's like Donkey Kong. So there's Donkey Kong at the end. Just wait. He's like the big boss.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I did that. We haven't got a lot of time, so I'll talk about one that I matched with who sounded like a foghorn.
Oh, a foghorn. She sounds dreamy. Tell me about Ms. Foghorn.
She looked lovely, and obviously you can't hear her on Tinder, so we met in a local park, and I heard her, and this is no word of a lie. I really hate when people say literally, and it's not literal. So
yeah, it's for emphasis,
about
yeah.
half a mile away, she was walking her dog, and all I could hear was, and it really... I got a bit worried. It's very visceral. So, like when you visit a park and you hear a lion roar, and it almost harks back to prehistoric era, so your stomach goes and you want to poo yourself so that you lose weight so that you can run away from the threat.
Yeah, it's the fight or flight poo. I know it well. I've done it all the time.
So it was the fight or flight mechanism that kicked in with me, and I thought, maybe I just had something dodgy to eat. And it was getting louder. I'm gonna meet him now. So she was on the phone talking to obviously one of her friends about meeting me, and I thought, maybe it's some sort of audible illusion, because I was in a park. And then as she got closer, I realized that was her voice.
Oh, and did you say hello, or did you just say, you must be looking for someone else?
No, because obviously she's seen my picture, so I couldn't run, and I'm pretty sure if I ran, she'd use her audible powers to knock me out.
Well, you're going to have to look for a new catchphrase with what I'm about to say to you, because your old catchphase when I used to call you this thing involved profanity, but your photo makes you look...
Your photo, right? Mother fudger?
Yeah, mother fudger. Your photo makes you look a lot older than you are, I would say.
David... Don't fudge with me.
Okay, I won't fudge with you. You're not an old man. You're just geriatric. So you meet this woman. What happened with the date? Did you guys go out or what?
So, I don't know how to say it. She was a massive drug user.
Oh, no.
And so we sat there for a while and chatted, and then I sort of noticed that she was kind of jonesing. Is that the expression?
Yeah, tweaking, jonesing, looking for a fix. Yeah, that'll work.
And then, as we were talking, not to go into details, I work with a lot of law enforcement. She then thought I was a narc and never called me again.
Okay, so how did that manifest? Did she start accusing you of being a narc? Like, what did she say?
Yeah, we were sat on a park bench, and she goes, "Do you work with the feds?" Now, we don't have the feds in the UK, but it's like a colloquial expression that a lot of people who don't work say.
Yeah, she's a non-worker. Okay, so least favorite quality in her voice, and maybe accusing you of being a narc.
I mean, you could pick either one of them. Yeah, being a narc or having the foghorn voice that could probably stop ships.
Yeah, well, there you go. And you've had some other colorful dates, I imagine. I mean, there's got to be other people. I feel like you can't stand anyone.
No, I'm really, really unhappy with people in general. I like dogs, but I had to go out with one who showed only half of her body on the Tinder profile. I couldn't work out why, and I was like, okay, send me some selfies, and she kept doing it, but it was always sort of, middle body up, and I'm about 5'6", 5'7". We
5'3".
met, and she was a giant.
Yeah. Oh, but how tall are we talking?
6'4".
Wow. I mean, I once dated a 6-foot woman. It was kind of empowering. People would look at us and I would be like, yeah, I can handle this. And the truth was
I looked like her puppet.
I see.
So short of her sticking her arm up me, it looked ridiculous, and I was dark and she was pale. But we had a really good time. So I can't say it was a bad date. And obviously I wanted to kiss her at the end of the night. So being novel, I took her to a hardware store, which she couldn't realise why, and then I went to the ladder section and climbed up a little step ladder and gave her a kiss.
I can't tell whether that's a joke with you. It might be true. It might also be a joke.
It's deadly serious. It was what we call in the UK a B&Q, but I don't know, a Home Depot in Canada.
Yeah, Home Depot, Canadian Tire. So was she white? Like, was it like Seal and Heidi Klum, where she's very tall and you're kind of short and black?
I would be the Heidi Klum in this. You know, she was a definite 6 or 7, and I'm sort of a 9 or 10.
Okay. Yeah.
Inches,
wow.
baby,
Okay.
Inches.
We get it. You have a small penis.
Yeah,
Tony, it's so good to hear. You know what? Sometimes for these live segments, I'm like, oh, what am I going to say? These are going to be so long, but it's just, I haven't really collaborated with you on the radio in months, and I forgot how easy it was and how good to hear your voice, how good it is to hear your voice.
David, I have missed you, brother, so much.
I've missed you too. It's been rough.
You're my Jewish friend as well, so, you know, I like talking about bar mitzvahs, about the filter fish, about world domination. We haven't really spoken.
Yeah, bar mitzvahs, gefilte fish, and world domination. That's the 3 things our people are known for. Oh, God, I'm going to get in trouble for this.
Are we at the end of the segment yet?
We'll get there. We got about 40 seconds. I'm just kind of doing the thoughtful wrap-up. I wrote these segments are long, and I want to thank you. I wrote that during the segment. That's not like a preparation or anything.
Ah, very nice, very nice.
When we come back, we're going to cover more things you don't like in the women you've dated, or are we going to go on to something else?
David, the choice is yours. As an award-winning radio personality, I gave you the award. We can discuss anything you want.
Great. Tony, I got to cut you off. We will find out what we're going to do after the break. I'll find out after the break, too. I am David Cooper on the air with Tony 5 from England. This is the Showgram.
You're listening to The Late Showgram with Jim Richards on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
That you are, and that you are not. I'm David Cooper, filling in for Jim Richards. He will be back next week this time, I'm sure. Otherwise, who knows what'll happen. All right, we are having a conversation with a very famous British man. He is famous to his mother and his mother alone. His name is Tony 5. Can I say you're my comedy collaborator, partner, Tony? Is that fair?
Say, I'm your daddy.
He's my daddy. All right. I'm being way too sincere. It's just so late. Normally, I'm more full of SH, the rest of it.
What time is it there?
It is 2:50 a.m. or 52. Do you say that? Like half 2?
Do you have any callers? Oh, do you have any listeners? Sorry.
Yeah, there's one. You're listening through your handset, right? And Tony's listening in the control room. So, I mean, that's 2. I mean, that's good numbers right there. And I'm listening, so that's 3. I mean, I don't really listen a lot, but I talk.
It's single digits. I love it.
We are
more than your previous radio show.
That is true. Tony knew me when I beat my head against a wall for many years just doing internet radio that no one listened to. Now I'm on the iHeartRadio Talk Network in Canada. Tony, we could keep talking about your least favorite qualities in women you've dated. I think that could be fun. I know your last girlfriend was not your least favorite person.
We'll have to build up to her. We can discuss. I can say their names because they're dead. No, I don't talk to them anymore. So Jenny was fantastic. I went out with her for maybe 18 months.
Yeah.
Lovely girl. Really, really ample bosom, you would say. And we used to, obviously have relations, as they would do. And we wanted to spice things up a bit. Again, I know this is a family show at 2 o'clock in the morning.
This is a family show. Yeah, there's families watching. There's children listening about, ample bosoms? What's the word?
Experimenting with a small battery device.
Okay, a battery-powered toy, a children's toy, I assume?
A little nugget, little vibrating...
a little nugget. Coincidentally, that's what Miranda calls my private parts, the little nugget. Go on.
Jewish nugget?
The little Jewish... Oh, God, the little Jewish nugget. That is correct.
I like that, the little Jewish nugget. That's cool, man.
That was my nickname when I was a hockey player, I think. I never played hockey.
The kosher nugget?
The kosher nugget. All right. Okay. Kosher. Okay. So you were experimenting with some toys with Jenny, and what was going on?
We thought, do you know what? We'll play around the number 2 slot.
Oh boy, number 2. We got number 1. We got number 2. Okay, we got a second slot. What happened?
And then what happened was I had a lot of lube, and unfortunately, I popped it all the way in.
The toy.
Yeah.
There's a scene in Seinfeld about people going to proctologists about this same issue, and it's always, they say, it's 1,000,000 to 1 shot, doc, 1,000,000 to 1.
Well, it went in, and obviously she got worried, and then she sort of ran to the toilet because obviously trying to get it out, and she sat on the toilet seat, and where I was in the bedroom, I've got an ensuite, not showing off or anything, girls. She sat on the toilet seat, and it vibrated the toilet seat for about 20 minutes because she was sat on it and couldn't get it out. So all I could do was which was great.
I like that, sort of like death metal, Tony. I like it.
Well, it sounded a bit like R&B or drum and bass here. And I was trying to make a beat to it, and I was doing a rap over it at the same time, and she was kind of crying, and, you know, she thought we'd have to go to the emergency room and so on. And in the end, she took a lovely towel that my mum had embroidered and took a massive dump on it.
She took a dump on your mom's embroidered towel?
Yes, so I could never use it again. So my mum, when I was quite young, used to learn to do embroidery. So I've had this thing for the best part of 25 years, and she soiled it, basically.
Wow, God bless your mom. She's what, like 2'8"? She's a Mauritian immigrant. She's like a tiny little sweet black woman with a thick.
We just call her an immigrant here. So she ruined it, and you know, you can. I mean, once that happens, you can never use it again, no matter how many times you wash it. So I had to throw it away.
Oh no, you threw away your mom's nappy, your mom's famous nappy that she knit for you and loved you.
Yeah, so that was horrific.
Well, Tony,
but nowhere near as bad as my current ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, well, we just have, 4 or 5 minutes here? I mean, we could build up to the ex-girlfriend. I'm here all week, Tony.
Okay, yeah, we can talk about it towards the end of the week. If your two or three listeners want to hear it, then call in. You know, call into the show, send an email, send a pigeon, whatever you need to do. Yeah,
we can take a survey of our 3 listeners, me, you, and Tony in the control room. Do we want to hear the story next? We'll figure it out. I want to tell you...
Because I really like Tony. Has he got a beard?
Tony does have a beard. He's sort of a handsome Italian man with a beard. Yeah, he's great.
Italian?
Yeah. Tony.
Buonamici.
You can talk to him. He's right there.
Hey, Tony.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm very well. You definitely do sound like you've got a beard.
I do. Can you hear it? Does it rustle on the mic when I talk? Is that what it is?
I don't know. You've got a slight timbre in your voice. That tells me you've got facial hair.
Well, there you go. I do. A lot of it, actually.
And I bet you're so attractive to women.
I am.
Yeah,
Thank you, Tony.
That very subtle, deep bass of a laugh, it just brings all the women in. I'm so glad we're on different continents.
He's using up all the women. There's no Tony women left. He's using all the Canadian women who want Tonys. He's got them all.
I do believe it's just the fact that we're called Tony that really draws them in like a magnet or a butterfly net.
You know, the first thing I get on Bumble or Tinder is a message that says Tony spelt out. They just love the name, don't they, Tony?
Yeah. I feel that as well. And sometimes I get asked whether I'm the Canadian Tony, so I just forward them over to you.
That's why I'm getting all these matches. Well, thank 100%. You, Tony.
And a lot of them are illiterate and can't spell, which is why they just spell it out. They're just going wa, and that's kind of what's happening.
That's absolutely amazing. Well, if I get any Brits coming my way, I will tell them, sorry, wrong Tony, you're looking for the Brit Tony. There we go.
You're looking for Ta-O-N-Wa. Ta-O-N-Wa in England. Tony, Tony and I, Black Tony in England and I used to have these meetings on Zoom every day about 4 years ago. We'd have these meetings. What would a future where we could quit our jobs and have a radio show, what would that even look like? And I have but I have like 20 pages of these notes, and some of these ideas are so bad. I was looking at them the other day. Maybe we should go through them tomorrow night, Tony, when you call in, if you have time to call in, like David and Tony's.
Are you sure you can broadcast that? Because a lot of it is NSFW, NAACP. What's that expression that you can't say it for work?
It's not the NAACP. Not safe for work. NSFW.
What's NAACP? I always hear that.
That's the National I don't know. It's a black organization. Yeah,
Canadians, if you know what the NAACP, call in now to get a postcard from me.
1-855-633-1010. That's 1-855-633-1010. If you can expand an acronym, we want to hear about it. Tony, it was so good to have you on the show. I'm looking forward to having you on again.
That's wonderful, David. If anybody wants to follow me from Canada, it's ANTS1701, ANTS1701. I will guarantee follow you. If you're a woman, I will guarantee trying to hit you up.
Okay, well, there you go. He's inappropriate, he's handsome, and I think our one listener, Tony in the control room, may actually follow you on Instagram. So this could be a big night for you, Tony, in England.
Perfect. Well, it's a day at the moment, David, but fair enough.
All right, well, we're going to let you go. Appreciate the call, Tony. Looking forward to speaking to you again. You are such a great, colorful character. I love you very much, and I'm excited to work with you more.
Love you, Canada.
Okay, I'm David Cooper. This is The Late Showgram.